You are listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for downloading and subscribing. Coming to you virtually live from high atop the historic Raleigh building in beautiful downtown Raleigh. The NCF&B takes the listener behind the scenes to tell the stories of the people that contribute to the creation of the food and beverage community of North Carolina. And now, the misfits in the dish pit, the faces of the front. They are Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today on the pod, we have the key to getting into the Atlantic Lounge in Raleigh, or getting a hot dog at the Cardinal.
Yeah.
The owner, founder, creator, Mr. Jason Howard.
How's it going, guys?
Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. This is maybe not the normal way you communicate with people, like podcasting. I remember just laughing with you over at the Cardinal.
Not at
You're
all.
like, what's
Not
this
at all.
podcart thing, blog stuff that you do?
Yeah.
So this is it. It's a room with 3 microphones. And
Three dudes.
and we talk about stuff, talk about food and beverage and what is going on. And what is going on with you, man? You got a lot going on.
Yeah, I have a lot going on. I mean, basically just trying to wade through this muck of COVID situation, while trying to open up spots and not knowing what's going to happen. It's pretty scary, but...
Well, let's frame it a little bit so everybody knows, because not everyone here that listens is from downtown Raleigh,
right?
And so, of course, that's where we're at. But also, many of your businesses are nearby this area. One of which was proudly talked about by one Andrea Weigel on our podcast, probably 2.5, almost 3 years ago. It was way in the beginning. And we just talked about, like, where are your favorite places to go? And she's like, well, I love the fact that I can go to the Cardinal, sit on the patio, have some beers and some hot dogs, and bring the kid and just relax. She's like, me and my husband, it's like our little way to get away.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I hadn't been there until then. I didn't even know about the Cardinal until then. And so she's the one that brought it up to me, and I was like, oh, I got to check that out. And so for those that haven't been, you go. I mean, we took a day trip with the whole family.
Kids,
and it's exactly as she advertised. You've got this great location that's kind of high up on a hill, just outside of downtown Raleigh, kind of overlooking. And you've got a full bar. You've got some beers on tap, and you've got a lot of funny quips written all over the walls, like if you ain't tipping, you ain't welcome, or stuff like that.
Well,
and you got a flat top with the ability to make some of the best hot dogs in town. That is the Cardinal.
That is the Cardinal. The Cardinal is a pretty cool story, actually. I'd always wanted to do a hot dog canned beer thing just because it's simple. And as I sold my first bar, Brooklyn Heights, I had about 6 months before that, I had signed a letter of intent on that location to do hot dogs and canned beer, but I had zero money. So I pitched it to my partner, the money guy, and he loved it. And then about 2 weeks later, he said, nah, that's just not going to work, Jason. You've lost your mind. Canned beer and hot dogs. So I kind of pushed the project off to the side, sold Brooklyn Heights, and got up with my 2 current partners there, Dan Murphy, who skateboarder, and Brad Stansel, both whom were patrons of my first project. That's how we got to know each other. And we were searching for a place to do a country kitchen, right? And couldn't find one. And so I revisited the location for that, and we were going to reopen a bar because my patrons from the Brooklyn Heights didn't have anywhere to go. So we were like, let's just give them somewhere to go. It'll be easy, you know?
Yeah.
And Old Raleigh, thank Old Raleigh for the Cardinal, because Old Raleigh put an Instagram post out and showed the building where Endless Grind is, right? Old picture, world famous hot dogs and beer. World famous hot dogs steamed in beer was on the sign. The name is I'm losing the name right now, but it was there. It was for
really?
They were only
In that
there
same
for
spot?
a year in Endless Grind building, which is 100 yards away.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so, bam, I was like, okay, we got to do it. It's a sign. So
Literally a sign.
it really, literally was a sign. And we did it, and it's been a hit ever since, and we're real grateful for it.
Yeah, so you touched on it. So the thing is, people say, "Oh, it's a hot dog. What's the difference? What makes it?" But you use Nathan's hot dogs. You steam them in beer,
and
on
onions.
a flat top, and onions, and a flat top grill, and then obviously mayo is your key on
Duke's
the bun.
Duke's on the bun. Yeah. So
the bun is a split top.
It's a New England Frankfurter bun is the proper name for it. A lot of people call it lobster roll. A buddy of mine showed it to me about 6 years ago. He did it like that, and I was like, man, I don't know how that bun hasn't made it down below the Mason-Dixon line, because it blows out a steam bun. I mean, I don't think there's any comparison. But
yeah, I mean, I've had conversations with many people about talking about opening a restaurant or opening up a bar or whatever, and many people use the Cardinal as their reference to, like, let's just do something simple, man. Just have a bar. Like, we'll do like what the Cardinals do in hot dogs and bar, but we'll do it with something else. And it's like, hey, good luck. Like, the Cardinal figured out how to do it. But just to say, like, oh yeah, we'll do the same thing. We'll just do it with tacos, or we'll just do it with burgers. It's like, okay, sure, good luck.
Yeah,
because it's the little details that you have that make it exactly why it's great. And during this whole like chaos, and we kind of alluded to it right before the microphones came on, but through COVID and through shutdowns and through bars being shut down and all, the Cardinals been able to figure it out.
Yeah,
they've been able to stay like
dumb
push
luck
through.
or whatever it is. But yeah, we've been able to blur the line of a restaurant and a bar somehow or another, and take advantage of this situation.
Yeah.
So.
Because you're doing, without being boastful, but you're busy. You're like
we're busy right now, mainly because nobody else is open, and which is just breaks my heart. But
on the same side,
is it because you serve food that you kind of?
Yeah, well, when you walk in, there's that hood there.
Yeah.
So we're technically a private bar, but we're allowed to be open at this time because of we meet certain criteria that you need to meet to be considered a restaurant, which again is just so confusing. I mean, I'm still kind of lost on it.
What is that? Is that you have to have 30% of your profits or your revenue come from food sales? Is that the
well? That used to be if you didn't have 30%, you were a restaurant, right? And you didn't have 30% food sales, then they made you be a private club.
Right.
Okay, so in 2015, the federal government came down and said that the health departments, Health and Human Services, do not inspect private clubs anymore. So, and when they said that, I was like, okay.
We'll be a private club.
Yeah, we'll be a private club. So I threw my plans across the city of Raleigh with the little kitchen in there, and the health department stamped it. We no longer inspect private clubs. So it's still confusing.
So you have a 0 rating is what we're saying here.
Well, yes, according to the health department. But we do everything. I mean, I have a lot of restaurant experience. I know all the tricks of the trade, but yeah, we do handle the food properly. But yeah, it's just everything's so confusing about everything that's going on right now, and that just adds to it.
Your old area, Brooklyn Heights and all, is on what we kind of consider Glenwood South.
Yeah.
And that's been a tumultuous topic of conversation in these recent times.
I had to get out of there.
The Glenwood South, for those that don't know, the Glenwood South area is kind of it's like a little drag. It's about 4 blocks down, and there are many bars and many. It's a gathering spot typically for like young kids, kind of collegey. But it's our party street in a way.
It reminds me of I don't know if. I'm sure that a lot of the listeners will be familiar with it, but Buckhead in Atlanta from about late 90s, early 2000s. That's what Glenwood Avenue is now.
Okay.
That's changed, obviously, in Atlanta, but it's a party place, man, for the most part.
It's been getting a lot of scrutiny right now because with the bars officially being shut down, I would say that Glenwood South didn't help the cause on any situations. It was... There were many videos, and people were talking about all this, like, not practicing social distancing
on the sidewalk. Yeah,
people just kind of partying when we've got a pandemic, and so it definitely did not sit well with many people. And so that whole area has just been shut down. And of course, there are businesses that are not exactly like that. Like like Mojo's was like, hey man, don't put me in that same category.
Yeah.
We're just selling burgers and dogs over here, and they're doing it right. I mean, they're doing curbside and the way you're supposed to do it. And so not everybody on Glenwood South, but they've been scrutinized right now, just to say the least.
Well, I know a few of those guys, and I know they were doing the best they could. But where do you draw the line on this at? So if you shut down alcohol sales at 11 o'clock, you're not changing the number of drinkers that are going to drink. You're just condensing those hours, and you're forcing them into less spaces.
Yeah.
So you're actually making the problem worse. Whereas if you could have had everything open, the amount of people that are out, if they were spread out amongst those places, they wouldn't be crowded. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think there's a lot of the idea of, when you are drinking, for one, you're socializing, you're intermingling. There's not a lot of masks being worn. There's a lot of, and I don't know if this is exactly why, but maybe after a few drinks you lose a little bit of judgment, and so then practicing social distancing becomes probably not the most important thing to yourself. So if you're, but again, if we're really trying to make this all go away, shouldn't we all just be like locked into our bedrooms or so, and no one's allowed to leave? But
who knows?
Or we should just drink beer with straws and keep our masks on, I guess. Because then if you're wearing a mask and I'm wearing a mask, there's pretty much no way we could spread it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do love the urine analysis of that. It was like a meme that's gone around that it's like, consider wearing a mask similar to someone that has to pee. Now, if they're not wearing pants and you're not wearing pants, they're going to pee all over you.
Yep.
If you're wearing pants and they're not wearing pants, it's going to get on you, but just on your pants.
Yeah.
And guess what? If they're wearing pants and you're wearing pants, they're just going to pee into their pants. That's the idea of we all wearing a mask. But
what if it's just every other person wear a mask? Because if you're wearing your mask, do I need to wear my mask?
Well, but that's always that's the thing about wearing masks, right? We don't know. There's so much lack of knowledge about who has it. Yeah. So you could be an asymptomatic carrier, and that's why you need to wear a mask, because you're actually protecting me then from wearing a mask.
Yeah. Did you, and I learned this from watching Drunk History, but it's a true story. Typhoid Mary, you're familiar with her story, that she was asymptomatic for having typhoid, but she also was a cook. And so she was making food for many people, and many people got extremely sick. And then she went away. She went to an asylum for a long time. And then when they brought her back out into the community, they're like, okay, it's cool, but you don't cook food. You're not allowed to cook food. And sure enough, she went to a country club and started cooking food, and got a ton of people sick, and a few people died. Oh. And upon her death, on the autopsy, they revealed that she was her whole body, her liver, everything was riddled with typhoid, but she was asymptomatic. So she never had any of the faults that come with having the disease, but she gave it to everybody.
Jeez.
And so, in a similar sense, that's kind of what we're saying. Many people could have it, and we don't know. So that's why wear your mask.
There you go. And everything will be better.
So let's talk about some other things. You do have another business that I assume it's a private club, but I assume it is closed.
It is closed, definitely.
So it's typically closed to everybody unless you have, what I have. Hold on, let me shake this. Unless I have one of these.
The key.
My key is number 286.
Wow.
That was done on the first day, on a Saturday. We're talking about the Atlantic Lounge, which is a subterranean private club bar that's under, essentially where Crawford and Son is located.
Under Joe Lee now.
Under Joe Lee, that's right, exactly. And so in the Oakwood district, you have to be a member, and being part of a member, you have to have a possession of a key to get in. Is that right?
You do, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about this.
So, going back to Brooklyn Heights, my first project when I first opened it, there wasn't a lot going on Glenwood Avenue, but a lot of locals really liked it, and I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. In 6 months, I'm not going to come here because everybody's going to find out about it, and I'm not going to feel welcome. And I'm like, what do you mean? Just keep coming. It's not everybody's not uncool, Yeah. So I kept hearing it over and over and over and over and over, and I was like, you know what? Let me just try to do the whole build your own bar kind of thing. How would you do that? First make it super private. You got to have a key to get in. So it's not just the key; it's you can't get a key unless you're recommended by a current key holder.
Yeah.
Which you can recommend whoever you want. So at the end, it's kind of like you guys build the bar yourselves. You build it with the people that you want in there. So it's kind of like put your money where your mouth is. More or less a social experiment. I mean, of course, my PR person at the time said, "Do not say that to anybody that it's a social experiment." But it's really what it was. It was like, you guys make your own bar, and lo and behold, you can go in there on a Thursday night, 10 or 15 people in there. They all know each other. They're all saying their names, calling each other by name, that I know that didn't know each other before that. So it's kind of worked out pretty cool. We sold, we're up to 2,800 keys. So,
that's what I was going to ask. How many is it? 2,800. So it's not as exclusive as I once thought.
No.
286 over here.
No. Well, and we sold them fast. I was really surprised because I never intended to sell. I didn't think we'd sell 500 keys in a year.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And a key is like, was it like $40?
$40.
Yeah, $40. You get a key, and it's essentially a permanent membership. I think you technically have to like renew every year.
Technically, you have to renew every year for the minimum of $1.
Yeah,
and I will be doing that,
and we do that. Yes, yeah, and But coming in, I know like I've actually, now this will be 2 times I've mentioned Adam's name in 2 consecutive shows, but Adam Eckert of Crake Arm, he's a member there, and I'm a member there, and it's like funny, like we always like share, like, hey man, it would be like a boastful thing, like, hey man, I haven't seen you there in a while. How many times are you going? And I'm like, oh, I'd like to get there, but he's like, come on, man, and it's like funny, but it's like, yeah, it's a little club, it's a little club,
it is a little club,
yeah, and it's nice to have a place to go. Now that's not the case because you don't have food there and don't have the ability. And I would imagine that in a sense of social distancing, a subterranean, tiny little room is probably not ideal to the situation.
Not at all.
I also have to say, but in this time of social injustice, you probably already gotten this, and I'm sure you're a PR person. There's probably many people taking the other side of that, being like, "Oh, that's exclusivity" or something like that.
Well, we don't have any requirements for you to come get a key. You just come get a key. Right. When we run out of them, we'll run out of them. But no, it's exclusive to get into it, but it's not exclusive when you're in there. It's not an exclusive crowd.
Yeah, I think you're more going for like the neighborhood bar where, listen, I want to go to a place, but I don't want to have like this huge crowd,
the amateur
and wait for a drink, and people being unruly and rowdy, and just being like calm, enjoying good craft cocktails, good beverage, and just like enjoy, and everybody kind of be harmonious together.
Absolutely.
I want to know though, like business sense or business wise, is that pre-COVID, of course, was that a good model? Were you able to like pay your bills on that?
Well, it's easy to multiply 40 times 2,500.
Right.
And you hadn't bought a drink yet. So from a business standpoint, it's a great model.
Yeah. Because if a drink's $5 or so, you've already pre-sold 8 drinks to every person that's ever come in there. So that's a good thing.
And really the $40 was, I was just trying to pick a figure that, wouldn't really piss too many people off or make me seem too pretentious, because that's not what I was going for. I was really going for what Matt just said. He said it way better than I could have. But so we just, $40 was just a normal figure that I feel like pretty much everybody pre-COVID economy could afford, to have a place to go to and not get surrounded by the masses of people coming around.
Well, and I liked, and correct me if I'm wrong if you're still doing this, but there's like an application process, and a couple of the questions on there were to understand your drinking habits a little bit. So it'd be like, what's your favorite? What are your favorite boozes? What's your favorite bottle of gin or favorite bottle of whiskey? Or what's your favorite cocktail or something like that. So I remember, I was like, I like, give me some Durham Distillery Navy Strength gin. That would be great to put on the back bar, or maybe some Four Roses bourbon as like a good easy.
And I think we have both of those.
I think you do have both of them.
But does that mean if you wrote like my favorite drink is Sex on the Beach, you would be like, no, I'm sorry, you're denied.
Yeah, well,
Long Island iced tea.
Yeah, that is true. I think there's another question, not a question, but a statement about. So you're allowed to play your own music in there. Bring your own records to play your own music. So there's definitely a statement on there about not playing Anya.
Wait, Enya?
Enya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Enya would be nice, like during like a nice little
Afternoon drink.
IPA buzz. You're sitting there like,
Yeah.
yeah, I could get into some Enya at that time. But that's cool too. So yeah, people bring their own records
Yeah.
and you can play whatever you like. And so it's a private club, but you're really like opening up to your guests. Like, hey, this is your place. Like, do what you
I want the guests to take advantage of it, do what they want, it feel like it's theirs.
Yeah.
Invite whoever you want. So right now you get an invitation card. Like somebody can't just go knock on the door and say, "Hey, here's $40. Can I get in?" You know, you can't do that.
Yep.
Really, after we cut off at like 1,000, now the only way you can get in is if existing members go, "Here's a card, go get your key."
Yeah.
And that's how we do it. It's a recommendation. So
I think it's cool. I mean, I know for a good while anybody that was out of town coming to visit me, that would be a place I'd like to take him. Like, oh yeah, I'll take you to a place that normally you wouldn't be able to get into or you couldn't see, and it's fun. It's a nice thing. It does feel surreal talking about these things. Like, oh yeah, that was a thing that we did, and that was fun. And because we had so many bars open at the time, that was a good respite from everything else.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about, is that model going to work when we come back from this? When there's,
Well, I'll tell you what's going to work is playing your own records. And speaking of people making their own records.
Oh, like the quarantine, the Carolina Quarantine Project.
Boom.
Oh, yeah?
That the Folks Foundation has put together. Yeah, nice segue, Matt, because the Folks Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit company, is a champion of all good things crafted in North Carolina and the folks that make them. And part of that was even the vinyl album that they put together called the Carolina Quarantine Project, where Carolina-based musicians or duos showcased songs that they wrote while sheltered in place. And so you can buy that album by going to their website, the folksfoundation.org, and check it out. It's the Carolina Quarantine Project. By that, you're supporting local artists, and everything that you do to support the Folks Foundation supports local art and artisans in the area. So one more time, go to folksfoundation.org.
And I'll also say that if you are concerned about maybe going out to the grocery store now, or you want to limit your exposure, well, we are proud to welcome and to talk about Hungry Harvest as they have come back as a sponsor. So you can save a trip to the store and get farm fresh produce, kitchen staples, and pantry items delivered right to your doorstep starting at just $15.
Yeah, they have 3 harvest sizes to choose from, so you can do one just for yourself, or if you've got a medium-sized family or a huge amount of people out there, you can support them. Not only is it affordable, but it's a convenient way to shop for yourself and stay stocked up on healthy food. It's a great way to make a difference for your grocery dollars.
Every time you receive a harvest from Hungry Harvest, you're contributing to the fight against food waste and hunger in our community. Also, every delivery saves at least 10 pounds of food from going to waste and supports the work of local hunger-solving organizations like Interfaith Food Shuttle with produce donations.
Yeah, so sign up at hungryharvest.net and use the promo code NCFB30 for 30% off your first harvest. That's Hungry Harvest.
So yeah, maybe when the Atlantic Lounge reopens, Max will grab his key and play the Carolina Quarantine Project in the bar.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So that Carolina Quarantine Project, is that a local musicians getting together writing music just while they're bored out of their freaking mind right now?
Pretty much, yeah.
That is awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That is very cool.
And it's cool too because like the music is pretty eclectic. It's not like one style. You got some bluegrass, you got some rock and roll, you got some kind of like hip hop-ish, whatever, but it's a pretty wide range of style of music, which is pretty cool. So
are people just submitting stuff that they do? And oh wow,
yeah. There were, I mean, some of the artists, the Couldn't Be Happiers, Migrant Bird, Stray Local, Ghosts of Liberty, Neville's Quarter, and His and Hers. These are some of the bands that are on there. But so they just put it all together and said, why not? Let's do this and raise some money and put some money back into our pockets while entertaining people. So
that's awesome.
It's cool.
Yeah. So but one thing I also I forgot to, or didn't get a chance to mention what I like and what separates you from some things is, so take the Cardinal Bar, and people from the outside looks like your typical dive bar, and like you said, beers and hot dogs, but you do have some fine liquor there and like a glass of canned Provençal rosé or something like that. Like, so cool things, but it's not just like, oh, if you just want PBR or Schlitz, like that's because call me hoity-toity, but I like options and and I like different and like, so actually when we went there, the aforementioned Adam Eckert is always around, and so you always have something, it seems like, on Crank Arm.
Crank Arm is a tap takeover for me. Adam and those guys, when they first started, I had just introduced tap beer to Brooklyn Heights, and he was really attentive and really cool. And I was just like, yeah, you can just have all the taps. There wasn't a lot of them. I mean, there's 3.
Yeah.
And so it's just been that way ever since. And I mean, I can call Adam right now, and he'll be there with a keg of beer. So we,
that's a good partnership.
Yeah, it's a great partnership.
It's great beer, and like, why not? And it's
and we support everybody else too, but on a can basis. But we have 2 taps at the Cardinal.
So
it's not
just like those are his. I'm not going to deal with it. Right.
So you've also got a lot more going on too.
I do.
I want to open up that whole can of worms. You've got a few projects set to open. Some have kind of been delayed a little bit, let's say. But let's talk about it. What do you have planned?
So Rainbow Luncheonette, which is a 25-seat diner-esque type place. When people ask me to explain it, I usually go with the Cardinal and Hummingbird had a love child. It would probably be Rainbow Luncheonette. A smaller menu, kind of a Waffle House on steroids with alcohol.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I really, after Finch's, got shut down, there's really nowhere else to go other than Big Ed's, Flying Biscuit. I mean, where else do you go have breakfast and sit down and have breakfast? So I'm like, man, there's a market there, and I just want to, keep my same business model, less than 1,500 square feet, 25 seats, open. I mean, it's open kitchen, like it's super open.
And this will be just like your typical greasy spoon in a sense?
It'll be your greasy spoon, but I'll probably, with a little more technique added to it, transfer some of the old quality grocery menu items that I had back in the day. The thorn in the concept that I wish I could do over again, but transfer some of those menu items over there. 7 to 3.
Wait, what's this failed concept that you
Quality
had?
Grocery in Oakwood.
I don't remember this.
Oh, you don't?
When did this happen?
So where Smokestack Cafe is right now?
Yeah.
That was Quality Grocery. It was a grill.
Oh, really? Okay.
And store. Some of your listeners might remember it. It was probably about 5 years ahead of its time. And then I had some personal issues that I completely dropped the ball. I take responsibility for the whole failure, but you learn from them. But yeah, it was a cool place.
Okay, so it was a small retail shop.
It was a grill with alcohol. You could buy beer there. You could get fresh produce there. Wow. You get grocery there. You sat out on the patio, right?
So you could also have a drink there.
You could, yeah.
Interesting. So it's kind of like...
it was 2011, 12.
Yeah.
Raleigh was just on the cusp of getting, that punch that we got in 2015.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It was the NCF and bump. That's why it was like right when we started.
Exactly.
That was it.
Well, it sounds kind of like what what's the place that Person Street Pharmacy, but without the pharmacy. Also,
but with grocery.
And with grocery, instead of the pharmacy.
Oh, you guys would have loved it.
Or kind of like what you guys had in the market at Standard Foods when that was still around, because you could grab a drink. I don't know if you could really.
Okay, so you should have remembered it because I was open when you guys were opening that up. So it was a smaller.
Yeah, the original
version.
Standard Foods team,
Right,
but Max was part of this kind of second iteration.
I was there for the first part too, but behind the scenes for
right.
Yeah, but I didn't even move here till 2013.
Hey,
so
we were 2 blocks away from you. Over there.
All right, so you're taking all of this knowledge, and that's good. Sometimes it's actually great to have something that quote unquote fails, because then you figure out like,
had a few.
Okay, I'm not going to do that, or I've learned from those mistakes, which is a great thing, So now you're going to implement some of the things that probably worked well back then, and then include them into the diner. So, but I can get my bacon and eggs.
You can get your bacon and eggs and your toast.
Hash browns, waffles.
With a bourbon and Coke, if you like.
At 6 a.m.?
At 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, diners are really a dying breed, but it's sad because they're They're delicious. They're exactly what you need sometimes. And there really aren't a lot of breakfast places in town in general when you think about it. So I think it's just everyone's like, I don't want to wake up at 5 in the morning and start making eggs for people. But like,
No,
it's a tough schedule.
And on Friday and Saturday nights, we're going to kind of flip the script a little bit and do hand-cut steaks, baked potato salad bar. Because we're not open for dinner, so we're just doing that on Friday and Saturday night. Kind of a little nod to Beef Mastor and Wilson, which is the inspiration for my very first bar. I was going to do a steakhouse in Raleigh, and it turned into Brooklyn Heights because we didn't have enough money. So that's a nod to them.
Yeah.
Okay. That Beef Masters place had been talked to by Matt Bettinger on the show and a couple other people. And I is it open right now? Do you know?
I would assume, absolutely. And Wilson,
We shouldn't probably talk about it that much because we won't be able to go. But I hear that you,
I heard it's cool.
You just like tailgate until you get in, and then it's
they used to
all they have is ribeye and then the salad bar. Right?
Yeah, hand cut ribeye. The salad bar is on a Lazy Susan in Tupperware. Texas toast and a baked potato. I think you can get a grilled onion on your steak if you want to.
If you want to be bougie,
if you want to be bougie, And the bar is like directly behind the cash register, and it spans about 2.5 feet wide. You know, it's just the cashier's the bartender. It's freaking cool. I mean, it really is.
It's awesome.
I love the low tech idea of these things. Like, just simplicity sometimes is exactly what you want, you know, and
but well executed and with high quality ingredients.
Keep it simple, stupid.
So,
and so pink boots.
The pink boot is probably an example of somebody being in the business too long and running out of ideas. So
This is another of your.
It's my take on a midi modern honky tonk. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and my dad was in a country band. And on the weekends, I would be in the Winnebago asleep, traveling to these little. There used to be honky tonks everywhere in North Carolina. Huh. And so that's kind of how I grew up, and I kind of missed it, a little bit. And I remember what it was like, but I was like, Raleigh doesn't have really anything like that. Let me try my hand at that.
So you're going to have live music all the time?
I'm going to try to have live music in there. The space is super small. But yes, right beside Rainbow Luncheonette. So I'm just doing this one off
the cuff. Well, explain for us Yankees who came down here what like a honky tonk is. What does that mean?
It's weird. I don't know if you can really pinpoint it because it doesn't have to necessarily be country music.
Okay.
Usually they're just little bars off in the cut somewhere. They're pretty much like a southern a country dive bar.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if you played country music in Slims, that would be a freaking honky tonk. You know what I mean?
I'm thinking of like the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, not like Gillies in Texas or anything like that.
You got like the chicken wire in front of the band so people can't throw bottles of beer at them.
No.
Or they can. They just shatter on the chicken wire.
Yeah. So, my version
that feels
of
like
it.
Myrtle Beach to me a little bit.
Not that kind of honky tonk.
Yeah, all right.
My version.
Yeah.
Whatever that's going to end up being, but
that's cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, they don't have something like that.
No, just do something different. Differentiate yourself.
I see you got a little ink on your arm with the banjo on there. Is that
that's a nod to my dad.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
So that was his instrument of choice?
He played everything. Piano, bass, banjo, guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yourself?
I do play.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you're going to get on that stage? You're going to do that every now and then?
No. Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not building the bar so I can showcase my musical talent. No.
A couple crank arms.
I can guarantee right now that Max will donate his services. He will volunteer to play.
I got a banjo right in there.
Oh, you played a banjo?
Bust it out, huh? Heck yeah.
All right, man. Hell yeah.
That was my first instrument I bought when I moved to North Carolina. I was like...
How long have you been playing?
I got it 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, he's been playing that for 7 years, but he's been a musician for a very long time.
My whole life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, you can come play.
All the waka 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 sound in the beginning of this our opening. That's me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have your first opening act.
There you go. Do it.
Yeah.
At the Pink. Now we're showing at the Pink Boots. Your very own NCF&B podcast host Max Trujillo on the banjo.
Man. I'll do it. But so let's think about this. I know, like, I don't mean to just jump back into this. Boohoo type of stuff, but you're in the center of a lot of, or you're deep into what's going on with bars and what's going on with closure of bars and being around. I had an idea, and start saying this on the podcast now. It's not my idea anymore because I'll give it to everybody else. But why not? I was thinking, why can't a place that's already open right now host some of these bartenders that have, like, basically we got a lot of amazing talent on the bench right now, and no one's making these
Do a takeover.
beautiful cocktails. Yeah, do a takeover for a day or two.
We did it for Wilco.
You did
2 weeks ago,
right?
Yeah.
So you did that with Wilco, which is a bar that's close to the Atlantic Lounge in that same area, and you kind of let people just give their flair for like what they do. I think that's kind of
put some money in their pocket too,
right? And so I've heard that like that's a good idea, but a lot of people are like, yeah, but I don't want to lose my unemployment if I do that, if I start working, and it's like we're just trying to move the needle a little bit. People, we're trying to help out. That's all, So
yeah, I think more people should be doing. I mean, we kind of posted on the Cardinal Instagram if anybody would want to do that with their bar, we'd be more than willing to share the space with you, give you some of the income, and do it. But so
I think that idea needs to just be played with a little bit more because there's so many great drinks out there, people making awesome recipes that are just not doing anything. It's a weird time for creativity to just be kind of shut down for a significant amount of time. So I would love to be able to get that back out there because we've been doing so many great things as a community for such a while. And I mean, just like listening back, I listened to a portion of one of our happy hour episodes just recently because somebody brought up a specific point. I wanted to hear it. And I went, oh, and then I just started listening to it for a bit. And I went, oh, that's what life was like, where we were all 60, 70 of us were all shoved into this little tiny office and everyone's partying, having drinks and having a good time, sharing microphones, sitting on each other's laps and all that. I'm like, that was a lot of close contact, but it was fine. And it was fun. So hopefully someday we can get back to that moment.
I hope to soon. But this is an open invitation right now on air. Anybody wants to come take over the Cardinal, come contact me. Be willing to do it once a week.
Nice.
We had planned on trying to do a Wednesday takeover. We just didn't have a lot of takers, so maybe we just didn't get it out there enough. So
that whole unemployment thing. I mean, I know a lot of people are making more money than they were working. So it's like
that's been a bit of a problem for us when we first opened. It's like, well, I'm not going to be making this much, and I'm like, well,
but you're going to have a consistent job.
You're going to have a job,
right? Yeah, there's a thing to be said. I mean, I've enjoyed being back over at Y Hill because, like, it's something to do. It keeps your brain sharp, and your body too. Like, I actually have lost some weight because I think I'm just moving so much, and it's like this is good for the soul to just get out there and work, get some sun, move around.
Well, some self-worth too. You sit around and get complacent. You get that COVID-25 on.
Yeah.
Smoke a little too much, drink a little too much.
Exactly.
Not earning a paycheck. Then you start.
I did laugh. Somebody told me, from what I understand, so the $600 of unemployment ended. And of course, this is we're speaking to you all right now. Like, you're listening to this on a Thursday. We recorded it just 4 days before on Monday. But I think the president did an executive order and took some funds and basically made it, I think, that everyone's getting a $400 bump now. Mm-hmm. And I love because the way that the person that told me this, who was a Trump supporter, said, so he came in and he was like, Congress is taking too long. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make this happen. Now, all I can do is provide $400 for everybody. And he's like, so he helped us out. I'm like, I love that your perspective is you thought he helped you out. He just took $200 out of what you were expecting down. And you got a $400, you got a $200 cut. Yeah. But yet he's the hero. Like, so you're making less now, just so you know. It's how you want to look at it.
Right.
Of course. There's a couple ways you could look at it. So he either helped everybody because Congress was taking too long, or the bottom line is y'all are just making $200 less a week, no matter what, than what you're
Well, I think if people read into it, I mean, that $400, the federal government is taking on 75% of that burden, and the other 300 of the 400 is federal money.
Yeah,
100 of it has got to be supplied by the state.
Or you can make your own money. Or you can go into a place, you can open your business, and you can make your own money.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you're a bartender, you can do takeovers probably 3 to 4 nights a week and make your regular money.
Exactly.
You really could.
If you really wanted to hustle.
Pretty sure the people that I know in the business are more than willing to do something like that.
I bet.
We'd love to do it for people. So.
I have a question for you. As a business owner, and from where I'm sitting, a successful business owner, obviously pre-pandemic, nobody can really plan for a pandemic. But as Max said earlier, we learn from our mistakes. So, but it sounds like Brooklyn Heights was here before I was here, but it sounds like it was a pretty successful establishment.
Super successful.
Yeah, you guys are slammed all the time.
Yeah, we were super successful.
So why end that? I mean, I know you said because you had this Cardinal idea you wanted to do, but
no, I ended that for a specific reason. I saw that Glenwood Avenue was turning into what we had said in the beginning. You know, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. And I'm just too old to join them. You know, and I'm just so. I contacted the owner of Cornerstone one day, and he walked over, and I said, "You want to buy this thing?" And he was like, "Hell yes!" So that's what happened. And then I took a year off, and then really didn't do anything at all.
Did you travel?
I wanted to get out of the business altogether.
Okay,
and then I spent that year reflecting on it because I had some successful stuff and some failures. I did Royal James. 25 and up lounge beside London Bridge.
That's right.
I did 15, which was Warhol. It was an LBGTQ lounge, kind of to give a different place to go other than Legends and dance all night. Maybe you just want to go hang out. So I did that. That was mildly successful. And then Quality Grocery, which lasted 1 year.
Wait, this was all in the year that you were supposed to take off? You opened those things?
No, this was in the year... a couple years before I took off.
Oh, okay.
So I was kind of like, man, I just failed. You know, I failed so many times. I was kind of like, fuck, you know, really down on myself. And then sold Brooklyn and sat back for a year and then, you know, came back. So
what were you doing before you owned these businesses? You were obviously in the business.
Well, so I grew up on I wouldn't say on a tobacco farm, but I grew up raising tobacco in rural Chatham County. My very first job outside of tobacco was the Farrington House.
Oh, okay.
I washed dishes at the Farrington House.
That's every a badge of honor.
Yes. And on top of that, you know, then you get to, you know, you kind of graduate to getting to squeeze juice for Sunday brunch. And then you graduate to this, and then you graduate to that. And then next thing I know, I'm making chocolate souffle.
Wow.
And I'm 16 years old. So I was kind of just thrust into a high quality, you know, food. And then so I went to school, ended up doing some computer engineering, but I always had a part-time job in a bar restaurant. So I've worked in them since I was 14. So that's kind of what led me into the business.
Who was the chef at the Farrington at the time?
Corey Madison. He's at the Duke. I think he's at Washington Duke.
Washington Duke, yeah.
Washington Duke right
Hotel.
now.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's not a name that's come up at the Farrington. I wonder if he was there for a long time. Or
he was there, and now see, I'm got some
Showing your age
I got
here?
some age on me. Yeah, so I graduated high school in 1989. So he was there probably mid 80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, for one, it's good to talk to somebody that's older than me for a time. Let's get the staff over at Weiss. I'm always like, all my references are 15 years old. They're like, yeah, thanks a lot, old man. Thanks, thanks, Boomer. Okay, Boomer. I'm not that old, but yeah, no, that's good. Well, I think you deserve to take a year off because this industry is a tough one. Now, have you taken into account with all the chaos that has happened in this industry from sexual harassment to equality to pay scale equality? Are those things that you consider when you're about to open a new place? And have you considered like how you're going to pay people? And is it any different than what you've done?
I consider all of that stuff, but almost all of my business models, after I took the time off, I said, you know what? I'm not going over 1,500 square feet. I don't really care how much revenue they make. They're easier to handle.
Yeah.
And when they're easier to handle, your quality of life's better. If your quality of life's better, everything else is better. The quality of everything is better. So it's just real easy, and you can do multiple ones. You know, you can have that 3,500 square foot, $3.5 million revenue restaurant that's going to make you maybe $300,000 a year.
Yeah, and rip your hair
and you're going to
out
work
full-time.
your ass off. You're going to be angry as shit all the time. You know, you probably go through a divorce or two. I mean, so I just really think, doing it all small, man, that's what I learned. That's what I learned from it. Do it small.
Small team,
Small team. You get to know everybody better. You know, you end up having an intimate relationship with your employees.
Is 1,500 square feet an arbitrary number, or is there a specific reason?
I wouldn't go over 1,500. Cardinal's 990 square feet. Atlantic Lounge is 700 square feet.
Yeah, these are
Rainbow
tiny spots.
Luncheonette is 900 square feet.
Yeah, these are
Rainbow
tiny spots.
Luncheonette is 900 square feet, and the same with Pink Boot. They're tiny spots.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have a packed house to make money. You really don't. You give better service, better
Right.
quality product, better everything.
It just sucks because I have a space to rent you, but it happens to be 1,525 square feet.
Oh,
so
that's
I guess
fine. No, I mean, we can talk
too
about
big.
that. I can build a big closet. But yeah.
Anecdotally, I remember we just talked about this the other day because I popped into Cardinal to get some food, and that's kind of how we set up this
Yeah.
podcast. And I was like, "We got to talk, man, because you're in the industry and all that." And we were saying silly situations that come out, and I cracked up because you started referencing. We're talking about hot dogs, and you said, "Yeah, man. I mean, hell, there was one time where a guy called, ordered 100 hot dogs at one time," and I went, "Yeah, that was me."
That was you.
He's like, "There was that guy over at Standard Foods that did that." I'm like, "Yeah,
Was that the oyster roast day?
that was
Yeah.
me on the oyster roast."
That's awesome.
Because we opened up for an oyster roast. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were packed, and everyone. It was so hot. It was in the middle of summer, and we Jonathan Grushler, who was the GM before me, and he was working with me at that time. We both looked at each other and were like, "Man, we got to get some hot dogs for the staff. Like, let's just do something." And we had a lot of people working. It was probably, 25 people that were out there. And so we're like, we should just get hot dogs. I'm like, the Cardinal. I'm like, yeah, but how many are we going to get? I mean, you can't just get 25, one for everybody. I'm like, screw it, let's just get 100. So I remember calling and remind me, who's the gentleman that was working there?
I think it was
Dreads?
Marcus.
Marcus.
Twiz.
Yeah, he answers the phone, and I'm like, let me preface by saying this is not a joke. This is true. My name's Max. I'm the GM over at Standard Foods. You can call me back to confirm, but I would like to order 100 hot dogs.
Yeah.
And he's like, get out of here, man.
Yeah, he called me. He's like, "Jason, what do I do?" I was like, "Make the hot dogs."
yeah.
And I think a couple
You got a lot
people
of room
came
in that
in.
flat top.
Yeah.
He's like, it's going to take me a bit. I'm here by myself. I'm like, we can wait.
I think what was cool about that is some of our employees were there day drinking that day. And they kind of jumped in and helped, which was awesome.
Yeah, I was like, let's just do 4 types. Like, we'll do just the basic this and put some kraut on that, do some pickled this and whatever. Well, just do that. And he's like, got it. And I remember, I mean, you can scroll through like the old Instagram photos of Standard. There's one that just shows a series of Cardinal hot dogs just stacked up. And we ate well that night.
That's
good.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't a lot of money either. It's like you charge a fair price for everything. So it worked, you know.
And occasionally we like to pop in unannounced at places with like a bag of hot dogs to like, we've done it for Stanberry.
Yeah.
I think that's the last time we did it. We need to do that again.
Well, where you're opening the Rainbow Diner is where, was it Rainbow Upholstery?
Rainbow Upholstery, Chuck
Yeah.
Bullock, good friend of mine.
And Jacob Boehm of Snap Pea did a pop-up there one time, and I dined there, and it was a group of us. I don't think you were there, Matt. But,
No.
But there was probably about 12 of us that were together, like in our group of 50 people that were there for the event. And at the end of the dining experience, obviously friend of the show and all, Bobby McFarland was on team there, and Connor, who's now over at Y Hill. These are all just good buddies of mine that worked for Snap Pea at the time. They were all on staff, and I looked at them. They just looked exhausted and hungry. So we walked down to the Cardinal and just bought like 20 hot dogs and brought them back
Wow.
and gave them to the kitchen staff. We're like, "This is your tip, gentlemen." They're
That's
like,
great.
I mean, cash should have been cool, but the
Yeah.
hot dogs are great. Thanks.
Just making me hungry for a hot dog right now. All right. Before we get out here, and maybe you already touched on it, but there were some things that you were saying about the way that downtown Raleigh handled the whole COVID things, and I just wanted to touch on that
Yeah,
before we get out here.
I don't know how this is going to affect my business, but because it is a small, it's a big town, small city kind of thing here. But the local government here has just really dropped the ball. Singling out bars and restaurants for this period of time, they're going to have to come up with a way to. If they're going to single us out in that way, you need to single us out in the form of grants.
Singling out bars and restaurants, meaning not allowing them to open?
Yes. I mean, we've been singled out. I mean, it's fairly obvious. And a lot of people that I know that have put their life savings into this stuff, man, they're having a tough time right now. Some of them I know are going to lose everything.
Yeah.
So if they're going to single us out like that, they need to do something else. If they want to get reelected, which it shouldn't even be for getting reelected, it should be, out of the goodness of their heart. But I don't really see it happening. And also, leaving the boards on the windows. $300,000 in marketing is a slap in the face if you think that's going to bring back downtown Raleigh. What will bring back downtown Raleigh is putting money in these business owners' pockets so they can open back up, not some half-baked, half-assed marketing plan. Market to who? Nobody's going to come down here with boards on the walls.
Yeah, I mean, currently, if you haven't gone to downtown Raleigh, I mean, it looks like a ghost town or a wasteland right now because every business.
I'll say this,
boards on
and I've been given permission to say this. I won't say their name, but fairly easy to figure out. I mean, I've been here a long time. I've got some tentacles in this town. I know quite a few of these people, and some of the most talented people in this town are planning a mass exodus because of this. So. All these restaurants that you like, there's a very strong chance they won't be here because of the way that we have been treated as a business. I'm not saying myself, I'm locked into some leases, but I know of quite a few people who are not going to renew their lease that have less than a year or a year on them.
Yeah,
because of their disdain for local government here.
Well, just to play devil's advocate, what was the alternative? Like, are you saying because grocery stores are allowed to be open?
Well, yes, yeah. I mean, you got to give people an opportunity to make their own choices. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to go out, then don't go out.
Right.
If you do, wear your mask. Either way, you're just telling people they can't provide for their family. So if you're going to do that, you better be able to find a way for them to provide.
Yeah.
That goes back to them singling us out. Single us out in a different way. Single us out by granting us money. Mm-hmm. And not putting it into a marketing plan. That's just a joke, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that, like, with the boards and the windows, that glass is at a premium right now.
Of course.
We just don't have a lot of glass, like, physically made to do a lot of the repairs that are necessary to put everything back. But there also isn't a big push by anybody to get everything to look the way it should look. And and then the ownership on that is like, well, who does it? Is the owner of the building? Is it the lessor of the business?
Well, you're letting people protest and tear things up. So that's your fault. I mean, it's the local government's fault. You let that happen, then you need to fix it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the protests, good cause, protests, whatever, but you let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally fine and for people protesting
Me too.
for their rights and all. I'm not fine with everybody just destroying businesses, especially those that are just like, hey, man, we're just trying to be open. So there is a balance there. Not everything is one way. But yeah, I understand. Like, Matt makes a good point. It's like, well, what else do you do? What else can you do? Like, if that's the case, although I would say at this point, even though protests are still continuing, they have become far less violent than they had been.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think businesses could be open without fear of another backlash of damage.
I mean, maybe it's just going to take somebody, the first person doing it, being open.
But also, if you have a restaurant that's like a 40-seat inside, small, as you're saying yourself, a small thing, like if you have to go to a 50% version of your dining space, the juice is not worth the squeeze to be open. Like,
not at all.
You cannot be open and make money because those businesses only make money when every seat is filled and turned 3 times a night.
100%.
So, like, you can't just be open. I mean, I think people have to understand that are looking from the outside in about, like, man, why aren't these restaurants just trying to be open? It's like, because they physically would lose all their money if just being open for a week, like
they would.
You can't be open. I mean, you could be open. Cardinal has a patio, has some space, and you also have a very low overhead. So, like, compared to everybody else, and we over at White Hill have this huge patio that allows us to do that. So there are certain businesses that are just structured. Call it dumb luck or whatever, but given the situation, there are a few places that can do it. I think Whiskey Kitchen has a nice big patio and they can be open, and so there are certain places that can do it. But you're talking about like the aforementioned Jolie or Crawford and Son.
Right.
These are tiny spots that have this. Talk about talent sitting on the bench. The fact that we can't have Crawford and Son like sitting in there and eating like his delicious food all the time is a travesty. It sucks. It's really lousy. But again, the alternative is it would be foolish to just be like, okay, well, yeah, we'll be open, but I can only serve 24 people a night. It's like, well, then, okay, then everyone's dish needs to be $500 a plate. That'd be the only way that it'd make sense.
Well, one of my biggest fears for this is number one, is downtown Raleigh going to come back, number one? And if it does come back, who's going to be here? So we have a lot of local people that own businesses here. And if they're not able to come back, there's a whole lot of people from around the country that have been trying to get spaces here but can't.
Right.
And then,
that was
I'm not against them coming, but there's a lot of locals that are going to be pushed out because of this.
Well, that said, like Katsuji came in here to open High Horse, and that business is not going to continue. That closed, but then he at least did find a space at Vidrio in Glenwood South, oddly enough, to continue to be the chef there as well. So he's making it work, for himself to do that. But that's going to be a common theme right now, that our downtown looks like what Kinston's downtown looked like after the tobacco industry just ended.
Yeah.
And there's boards on the window, and everywhere you look, you're like, man, this town used to be something. You could tell. That's exactly what downtown Raleigh looks like right now.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we catch it quick enough to turn it back around.
Yeah.
But the irony of that is, sure, Fayetteville is, pretty run down and
Fayetteville
looks
Street,
Fayetteville Street, but if you go up a couple of blocks away to your spot at White Hill, people are clamoring to get in the place and go out. And
sure. Well, there's fewer
busy.
options, So,
yeah. So, but my point being is that just blocks away at the Cardinal or wherever, people are going out. It's not like it's really isolated to like a couple of blocks in downtown Raleigh.
It is.
So,
right.
But
unfortunately,
that's even scarier to me, because it is isolated. If it wasn't isolated, we could just be like, it's it's COVID, but
it seems like it's a little bit more than just solely COVID, and
yes.
we've got, it's a little political. Funding is a little dicey. It is challenged, but I do agree with you. If the government says your business needs to be shut down for safety reasons, then there's got to be some financial assistance during that time. Like if we can't be open because the government told you not to do it, then the government should be responsible for your income at that time. At least to an extent, and do something, because everybody, like government included, and anybody wants the economy to succeed and wants to work. Like no one wants to see all this stuff fail and go away. So we do need to have we have to have patience and we have to have some time, but we have to have some generosity, or however you want to look at that, from the government, so that we can continue this industry as awesome as it was, so that people from other states and all that have been clamoring to get in here will continue to want that. Because the current state right now, no one's dying to come in to downtown Raleigh at this very moment. We need to. It needs to be addressed. It needs to get better.
Yeah.
So just to wrap that up, I like to think about things in a progressive way. What could they do? You could let restaurants sell liquor to go, right? Cocktails to go. That's one thing.
You can open up patios.
Revenue. You can open up patios. Open up streets so that. But the other side of that, unfortunately, like you were saying about Glenwood South, is then you have a lot of people congregating and populating, and maybe it's outside, so it's okay.
But
congregating,
from what I remember, the congregating and populating on Glenwood South was on the sidewalk to get into a place, because the occupancies were cut down so much. I don't think it so much was inside. I think you could find instances where it looked like it was being abused, but for the most part, I think it was on the sidewalks.
Yeah. I'd be down for that if they said, hey, normally we wouldn't let you, but now, or even like where it used to be, where Fayetteville Street from the Capitol building all the way to the museum was just a walkway, and there's no cars. Yeah. Imagine you just did that now for the time being at COVID.
I think you need to do something like that.
But the unfortunate part is that has been decaying for so long that even pre-COVID, we had so many restaurants that had already shut down on Fayetteville Street.
True.
Fayetteville Street was never really a booming street. It was all the periphery, and all of AC's restaurants are not on Fayetteville. They're all around Fayetteville. And so, but it would be great to see her restaurants open. It'd be great to see, Cheaty's restaurants open and like get all these businesses back up and running. But
you mean for in-room dining or
in-room dining or just or
when do you guys think that's going to happen? In your own personal opinions, when do you think this ends? If you had to guess,
I'm giving you a genuine answer. I think it's going to get worse. I think we're going to go back to phase 1 at some point. I think everybody's going to be told that all businesses need to be shut down again.
Really?
And then I think if that's the case and everybody is closed and there's no intermingling at all, then perhaps we'll get closer to phase 3, like back to normal faster. And I think that once the flu season comes and it gets colder, that's when people are going to have to shut down. I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. So, personal opinion, I think normal doesn't happen for another year.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to go back to phase one unless like there is just unbelievable circumstances, because that's going to further cripple the economy. However, I don't think we'll get back to any semblance of normalcy the way we knew it pre-COVID until there is a verified vaccine that is affordable and available.
And that's going to probably be...
well, the president says early November, just like he said we'll be open by Easter. So, who knows? I mean, the minimum they say for an actual vaccine to be viable is 18 months. So if you take that from March, that's till April.
And that's usually after
that's
you figure
fast.
it out. But that's after the vaccine's been created.
It's
18
vetted,
months to vet it. To go through and
well,
test
I think the whole process is 18 months from the origination of it.
Sure.
So I don't know.
I'm thinking April. I'm thinking April of next year. We might have some sort of semblance of
But that's why I do think that it is an important lesson to. If you have a business, to try to figure out how to be open on your own, because you may not get assistance from the government
No, you won't.
The way you're hoping to.
You have to pivot.
If you want this to be your business, if you want this to be your own reality and you want to be in control of yourself, I'm not trying to be Mr. Libertarian and all, but you do kind of have to put your own business on your own back.
Of course.
And do it yourself.
And speaking of which, this is a perfect time to plug a couple of people who have mentioned something to me, like our friends at Copa Durham, which they have reopened, but they're also doing this pretty amazing farm series, which they have at this farm in Hillsborough, where you can go and eat outside, and then they practice social distancing. They're also doing I need to read up, but some sort of farm share to help farmers around. So if you just go to Copa Durham, or if you direct message us, I can get you more information on that. But that's one thing. And then I don't know if you guys follow Alley 26 in Durham on Instagram, but they're doing like a whole revisit of their business and basically turning it into more of a like a retail and grocery thing. But then they've opened up that alley right near them, so you can come by and get like ice cream, I think, and hot dogs. And then they also have an Aperol Spritz cart. Or just a spritz cart.
Oh, nice.
So like
fun.
you can get all types of spritzes, and it's like a full orange cart. And
across the street is Kingfisher
Kingfisher Queen Burger.
Burger.
That sounds awesome.
Which is great. I'm watching Michelle and Sean do that and
People
make
are
those
hustling.
burgers, and they look good. And I appreciate that. I mean, this is the year of the burger now. Like, burger is king right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's
You
going
got
nuts
government
for burgers.
cheeseburger.
Yeah.
You got those guys.
And so I love this type of,
Appreciate the hustle.
yeah.
Yeah, and the creativity, like creativity is not dead. As a matter of fact, it's really like necessity is the mother of all invention. So,
Right. And remember, if you also appreciate these companies doing this, support them. Like, don't go once for the novelty and be like, cool, that was neat, and then never do it again. Like, be a consistent supporter of these businesses. Go there once a week, twice a week. Tell your friends and try to get out there. Like going to the Triangle Wine Company, which has four locations that are all still open for curbside, for delivery, for takeout purchases of wine and beer and other items, even like ice cream, like alcohol ice cream. But Triangle Wine Co. You can shop online. You can get all your deliveries. You can also put in a promo code, the NCFB promo code, and receive a discount because we're your friends and they're our friends, and so they'll help us out. And when you're there, make sure that you do get some Proof Alcohol ice cream, because Jason, you're going to go home with some Proof Alcohol ice cream as well.
Oh, wow.
We have it
Thank
here
you.
at the kitchen in a freezer, and you can select whatever flavor you want. We have items like bourbon caramel, coconut rum, apple pie moonshine, strawberry moonshine. There's always something delicious in there, so you can take that with you because you can think differently about dessert. Go to proofalcoholicecream.com, get it at Triangle Wine Company or at Lowe's or Harris Teeter or all of these great local wine shops that we just discussed on last episode that have also kind of joined up and are supporting Proof, because they're giving these industries something to sell and literally are helping their businesses. So it's a great connection, and we're moving forward by trying to help each other.
yeah. Plus, who doesn't in this heat want some ice cream that has a little kick to it?
I wanted to thank you guys for doing something good for the community, man. Just having the show and everything. It's pretty awesome.
Thanks
Very much.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, and for everybody out there, go to the Cardinal Bar if you want a great hot dog and a great drink. And then when they reopen, go to the Atlantic Lounge. It sounds like Rainbow is going to be pretty awesome, and I'm pretty excited to find out what a honky tonk is and go to Pink Boot. So the Pink Boot. Well, go to the Cardinal. You'll eat and drink very merrily.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.